When people think of ancient warriors, one name rises above all others: Sparta. A city where mercy was weakness, and strength was everything. In the rugged lands of ancient Greece, surrounded by mountains and rivers, stood a civilization unlike any other. Sparta was not built on wealth, art, or philosophy. It was built on discipline, endurance, and sacrifice. To the rest of Greece, the Spartans seemed almost inhuman, men who felt no fear, who never retreated, who stood shoulder to shoulder until death itself surrendered before them. But this power, this perfection, came at a terrible price. Sparta didn't just train warriors, it engineered them. Every heartbeat of Spartan life was designed to create the perfect soldier, the perfect weapon, the perfect human being. Or, perhaps, something less than human. It began the moment a child entered the world. In most cities, the cry of a newborn meant celebration, but in Sparta, it was a test. The elders of the city, gray-haired men hardened by war, inspected each infant carefully. They looked at its chest, its legs, its spine. They judged whether the baby was strong enough to serve the state. If the child was frail, small, or deformed, the elders nodded silently, and the baby was taken away to the foot of Mount Taygetus. There, beneath the open sky, the infant would be left to die, exposed to the cold, the wind, and the wolves. Cruel, yes, but in the Spartan mind, it was not cruelty, it was duty. They believed that by removing the weak, they protected the strength of their people. Only the fittest would survive. Only the strong deserved to be called Spartan. If the child survived, his true trials had only begun. At the age of 7, he was taken from his mother's arms and placed into the Agoge, the brutal training system that turned boys into living weapons. From that moment, his life no longer belonged to his family, it belonged to Sparta. The Agoge was not a school, it was a forge. Boys slept on beds made of reeds they had to gather themselves. They walked barefoot through the harsh winters of Laconia. They were given little food, not enough to live comfortably, only enough to stay alive. To eat more, they had to steal, but if caught, they were whipped mercilessly, not for stealing, but for being careless. Pain was not punishment, it was education. Every scar was a lesson, every drop of blood a reminder that weakness was unacceptable. The boys learned to endure hunger, thirst, pain, and fear. They learned to fight, to track, to obey without question. By the age of 12, they were no longer children. They were predators. The Agoge also stripped away individuality. No one was allowed to stand out. No one was special. The state was everything, and the self was nothing. Each boy became part of something larger, a machine made of flesh and bone. Even their minds were trained for obedience. They were taught to speak little, to move silently, to suppress emotion. When they were mocked or beaten by older boys, they were forbidden to cry out. Silence was strength. Their entire education was built around one idea, that a Spartan's life had value only if it served the city. But the Spartans knew that war was not just fought with the body, it was fought with the mind. They taught their children to embrace death, to laugh at fear. Come back with your shield, mothers told their sons, or on it, to die in battle was glory. To retreat was shame. A Spartan who ran from battle would never again be welcomed home. He would be nameless, honorless, forgotten. Even their music, dances, and festivals served one purpose: to glorify courage and loyalty. Songs praised heroes who fell in war. Poems celebrated obedience and strength. From birth to death, a Spartan was surrounded by one message: live for Sparta, die for Sparta. And it wasn't only the men who lived by this creed. The women of Sparta were unlike any other in the ancient world. While women in Athens stayed behind closed doors, Spartan women trained their bodies. They ran, wrestled, and threw javelins. Why? Because strong women would give birth to strong sons. They were the backbone of Spartan pride, mothers who raised warriors, wives who refused to cry when their husbands marched to war. They didn't say goodbye. They said, "Come back a victor," or "Don't come back at all." It was this cold fire that kept the Spartan heart beating. Love expressed not through comfort, but through courage. By the age of 20, a Spartan who survived the Agoge entered the ranks of the army. He joined the Syestia, a brotherhood of warriors who ate, trained, and lived together. Marriage was allowed, but even then, the soldier could not live with his wife until he was 30. His loyalty belonged first to his brothers in arms. Every Spartan warrior carried a bronze shield, a spear, and a short sword, but his true weapon was discipline. In battle, they fought in the phalanx formation, shields locked, spears pointing forward, each man protecting the one beside him. No gaps, no weakness, no fear. They moved like one body, one will, one soul. This unity made them nearly unbeatable. At Thermopylae, 300 Spartans stood against the massive Persian army. Outnumbered beyond imagination, they fought until the last man fell. Their courage turned defeat into legend. Even their enemies admired them. Yet, beneath that glory was darkness. To create perfection, Sparta had sacrificed everything else. There was no room for art, philosophy, or compassion. While Athens produced poets, architects, and philosophers, Sparta produced only warriors. The city had no great buildings, no grand literature, no artists. Its beauty was its brutality, and that brutality eventually became its weakness. By focusing only on war, Sparta forgot how to live in peace. The same iron discipline that made them strong also made them rigid, unable to adapt. Their population began to shrink. Their isolation made them vulnerable. The warriors they had built to defend their city became the reason it couldn't survive without war. When Sparta finally fell, it left behind no empire, no monuments, only a legend, but that legend still echoes today. Modern armies study Spartan discipline, athletes quote their courage, films glorify their battles, yet few understand the pain behind the perfection. Sparta's system proved that strength can be built, but humanity cannot be engineered. Because in trying to create the perfect warrior, they created something less than human, men who lived without fear, but also without freedom. Still, their story continues to inspire, because somewhere within that cold, hard code of duty lies a truth that touches every human being. Greatness demands sacrifice. But when sacrifice becomes everything, greatness becomes hollow. Sparta showed the world that perfection achieved through cruelty is no perfection at all. A society that worships strength alone is doomed to forget why it fights. The Spartans fought for Sparta, but in the end, they lost themselves. Their story is both a warning and a wonder, the tale of a people who rose from the harsh soil of Greece to stand immortal in history. They were fearless, they were disciplined, they were magnificent, but they were also tragic. This was Sparta, the city that engineered warriors so perfect, even death could not erase their name. A civilization built on sacrifice, forged in fire, and destroyed by its own perfection. Because true strength, as history would learn, is not born in the absence of weakness, it is born in the courage to remain human.